This was presented in San Diego at the Catamaran Resort on July 8th, 2014. And here we have a live webcam from the lovely Catamaran in the background. So here we have a deterministic Excel model. It's a little portfolio model. We've got returns of various assets. These are the average returns in these cells. Here are the weights in our portfolio. These are just numbers, except for this top one, which is 1 minus the sum of the rest, to make sure that the portfolio sums to 100%. And then, if I zoom out a little bit, we see that the portfolio value itself is the sum product of the returns and the weights. So it's just a deterministic model. There's really nothing much going on with this, but we're going to turn it into an interactive simulation. And we're going to do that with the SIPmath Modeler tools. Now, the interactive simulation runs using nothing but the data table, and you can do this by hand. The modeler tools just help facilitate the process. So here are the commands for the modeler tools. Basically initialize, define inputs, and define outputs. And again, the model does not require the tools to run. The tools are the goose that lays the golden egg. So once the model's built, it'll run fine on its own. The first step is to initialize. And initialize wants you to tell it the library you're going to use. In this case, I'm going to browse and pick up the file called SIPlibrary. So this SIPlibrary was created using the SIPmaker, which I'll show you later in this video. When I click OK, there is the SIPlibrary file. It's got 4 columns of representing the 4 SIPs for domestic, hedge fund, foreign, and so on. Any statistical relationships between these is preserved, of course. So really, these SIPs make a slurp. Let's look at the metadata. The metadata tells me that there were 10,000 trials. The provenance says, I'm repeating what I did in San Diego. Therefore, what happened in San Diego apparently did not stay in San Diego. I've got some other metadata on this side. Now, we go back to the model itself, and during initialization, it created a new sheet called the PM table sheet, which is where the data table simulation is going to take place. This is sort of like laying out the jig to put that data table on. And aside from that, we're now ready to go and define inputs. So with the cursor in the first input, I go to define inputs, and I'm going to choose domestic through international funds, click OK. And it puts index statements in here, which are going to index down into the SIPs in the other file. And furthermore, it puts these cute little sparkline histograms in each cell. That's one of the features of the latest version of the SIPmath Modeler tools. Now, the final step is to define the outputs. I put the cursor in the return cell for the portfolio that has the sum product in it. I click define outputs. And I now have to give it a name, because when you get to SIP land, all the outputs are arrays, and we have to give them names. So I'm going to give it the name portfolio by clicking on that cell. And then I click OK. And 10,000 trials later, there's the histogram of the portfolio. Now, I can change the portfolio, say, to 20% there. That's 10,000 trials. I can undo that. That's 10,000 trials. And furthermore, the range in the data table sheet is now called portfolio. So let's look at the 5th percentile of the portfolio. I can just say equals percentile portfolio 5%. And there we have it. The 10th percentile would be that. And then if I change my portfolio to this, the 10th percentile is that, and whatever. Every keystroke is now 10,000 trials. So next, I'm going to show you how we created the SIP library from the SIPmaker.
Please visit us at www.probabilitymanagement.org to learn more and to support this important nonprofit effort.